It's Altitude After Dark. It's your boy DMac with Coach Mike Sanford. What's going on? We're watching the Giants and the Cowboys. 3 big field goals so far for the Giants. They're getting after it. This game is like watching the worst lava flow ever. Like, not like a cool lava flow. I'm talking about one of these like, hey, that volcano's been exploding for the past 30 years. You know what I'm talking about, Coach? Like, it's just like, you're like, that's lava flow? Because it's just like creeping along. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's active lava flow. So it's
like it's so disjointed, man. There's so many penalties. It's like even they couldn't even get to halftime and just punt the ball away and just run out the clock because there was a penalty after another penalty.
I know.
It's ridiculous, man. And have you watched enough to see McCarthy's hat? That's
great.
That might be the worst piece of swag ever on a sideline in the history of sport. I mean, it's a plaid. It's almost like, I think it looks like it's faux leather plaid, and it's almost like kind of pinkish neon, and then it's got McCarthy might deserve to get his penance for that.
Oh, well, you know what's funny? Both quarterbacks are kind of on fire.
They're playing fine.
Yeah, well, I mean, the numbers are ridiculous. Yeah, Daniel Jones, 16 of 18 for $178. No touchdowns, but no interceptions, only sacked once. And then Dak is 14 of 16 for $164 with 2 touchdowns. So why does this game suck so bad, Mike?
It's just real disjointed. It's I don't know if you have the stats right there in front of you.
I do.
And that's not even including the amount of like double penalties, offsetting penalties that there have been. And it started out with the Cowboys getting some home cooking from the league because of the power of the star and because the NFL doesn't want Jerry Jones and his evil empire to pick up their bag and leave. I just think that, so it was like a face mask. So there was a face mask called on a Giants tight end when he was trying to get a release and his face mask was being jerked every which way. And it nullified a massive play for the Giants. And then of course there was a holding call on a Cowboys touchdown that the refs got together and said, no, it actually wasn't a holding call. So,
well, whatever. This game's going on. We'll keep tabs of it. But the Broncos at the Greenbrier.
I want to keep a routine as much as possible, kind of do the same things that you've been doing. But at the same time, you have some room to hang out with the guys and you're not at home. So, you can treat it a little bit differently. And so kind of, use your routine, but also kind of ad-lib at the same time. And,
all right, let's talk about this. Today was a rainy day, and they had to go from the grass fields to the turf field. If they were just here in Denver, Mike, they just, they just would have stayed outside. It was like 90 degrees. It was absolutely beautiful.
Perfect day for people.
You would just, practice football and go home at night.
You know what would not have happened if they had chosen that path? Sean Payton would not have been able to show off his design genius to his entire football franchise and let them know that I designed the Greenbrier football training center.
Well, he's happy to tell that story, isn't he?
Oh, it's like I am the creator. Please indulge in my creation.
We welcome everybody to like and subscribe and comment. We'll get to your comments. Just throw them in there. We'd love to hear them. All right. Well, let's just talk about it, Mike. You know what's funny? I've run this past my guy, Nate Jackson, who played in the NFL, and Chad Brown, and even Tyler, Columbus, and everybody seems to be like, oh, no, it's cool. Like, this is a good thing. Like, it's fine. And, I mean, I've been covering the Broncos for 25 years, and I'm not saying they wouldn't stay, like, in England for like 4 or 5 days. Okay, fine. But hey, Mike, this isn't the first time they've had back-to-back East Coast road trips. And The last time I checked, we don't live in Timbuktu or the Northern Territories or somewhere, east of Juneau, Alaska. We live in the middle of the country here in Denver, Colorado. And the last time I checked, those charter jets work pretty amazing, just flying from one spot to another in about 3 hours from anywhere at the furthest.
Not to mention,
what am I missing here?
I think there's got to be some nostalgia from Sean, because that's where the training camps were held when he was at the Saints. They utilized that facility multiple times. That has to be the root of it. I do understand where Nate and Tyler are coming from, and I think there are positives to being around each other. I'd say the player in me, and I never played pro football, but like the college player in me would love to get away from some distractions and just be around football and my teammates, and just frankly sometimes just get a chance to catch up on some sleep. Because like a guy like Mike Paglenci, I know he's not cleared to play, but he just had a newborn baby, right? Like there's like a little semblance of like, I need to get some me time. But I do think that coaching me, like when you take your show on the road and from the coaching standpoint, it's so much with the technology of the film, having your setup right, your staff meetings are in a great environment, your position meetings. Every time, like at Notre Dame, we picked up our training camp about a weekend, and then we went to a military academy when I was coaching there, and I thought it was awesome. But the pain of the lack of technology and stuff to be able to teach and the environment to teach, I didn't think that the juice was worth the squeeze. So the coach in me, not into it. The player in me, I love the thought of it.
Okay, so how big is this on the ego scale for Sean Payton right now?
I mean, he's definitely Sean-splained, the rationale of why he placed the fields in certain areas and the flow, and how many teams also have used the creation since its inception. I'm guessing if you were to throw a year out, it was probably 2006. That'd probably be the year that I'd throw out there.
Well, that's where they're at. They got chased off one field to go to a turf field. It just like, hey, man, the first couple days felt like cool. How the rest of the Muggles convinced their bosses to pay for them to travel to West Virginia for this is beyond me. And from what I understand, because I've talked to a few, there's a lot of Denver media actually out there right now. So hope they're enjoying West Virginia. I guess any excuse to get away from your significant other and your kids, Mike, is well, you know that. You went to the Senior Bowl, the East West Shrine Bowl, the Toilet Bowl. You got
I went to a lot of bowls. Yeah.
You got away a little bit.
I did not go to the bidet. I just went to bowls. It's very different. But
well, now you're forced me to do this.
For me, is it Batty or Beatty? We gotta know.
It's Beatty.
Beatty.
My last name's Bidet. So now
For me, is it Batty or Beatty? We gotta know.
it's Beatty. My last name's Bidet. So now y'all
For me, is it Batty or Beatty? We gotta know.
it's Beatty. My last name's Bidet.
You got a comment on that one?
His last name is Bidet. Period.
His name is Bidet.
Because Beatty, which your partner in crime on the air, Tyler Columbus, still is convinced that it was originally Batty. It was never Batty.
It was never Batty.
It was BAY-DE.
For me, is it Batty or Beatty? We gotta know.
it's Beatty.
A year ago.
It was a year ago. It was Beatty. And now it's Bidet.
My last name's Bidet.
And if he totes the ball like he has been
whatever
the last several weeks, you can call me Samsonite. Silly. I don't care. Just tote that stone, baby, and keep doing what you do, man. We will, as members of the media, Tyler, we will oblige with whatever you choose.
I went back and I was watching some Broncos. I was watching the Jets as well, getting ready for this week, and I got to hand it to Javonte Williams on one thing. Dude sticks his nose in there. Smart in terms of who to pick up to block.
Yeah.
Pretty reliable in that department. And that's good. There's quality to that.
Good. Yeah.
And
sure.
because he's such a good pass receiver, it's not a tell when he's in the game. You don't exactly know what's going on. That being said, I don't want him to get most of the carries because I don't think he's that effective.
I completely agree. And today, Lombardi, not Vic, the Broncos Lombardi.
Joe Lombardi, yes.
Yeah. Is his name Nate Lombardi?
That's Nate Singleton.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my fault. I couldn't. It's not important that we in the media remember names. So
no, here we go.
Just first off, regarding our practice, Nate Singleton.
Right.
So I will extend some major grace to Sean Payton as a head coach that dealt with like 1/1,000,000th of the pressure and the media opportunities and requirements that you have, you will have a Freudian slip from time to time. I know that he knows who Alex Singleton is.
Well, right, because it's not like Prime who gets let me see. Our academic performer of the year is Tom something or other. I don't know why I say.
What's his name? What's his name?
Some Tom Sprigroli, Spriga. I don't care. That's my Deion Sanders impression about reading the academic standard standout of the week.
This is the captain.
You're welcome.
Alex Singleton.
Alex Singleton. Hey, man, people get things confused. I get things confused all the time.
Yep, that's right.
No doubt. But that being said, speak on the loss of Singleton.
I hate it. When we were going through training camp this year, watching all those practices, DMac, and we talked about like the leadership. Who's the guy? It was him, man. It was him on either side of the football. I thought it was Tim Patrick on the offensive side of the ball, no longer a Bronco. But Alex Singleton just showed up to practice on a daily basis and continues to show up, as a major part of this defense, not just from a statistical standpoint. What do you have, like 179 tackles a year ago? But the guy is the communicator, the heart and soul. And I just love the guy. I don't want to poke fun at the fact that his head coach called him by the wrong name when he was announcing his ACL injury, because I absolutely love the football player and the person. And I haven't even gotten to know him. I never interviewed him or anything. I just love the way he plays the game of football. Good news is I do think that there are some. I think the fact that Barton has had some success. He is a guy that I think has some leader qualities to him. I think Justin Strnad does as well. And then do you know the status on Lavelle Bailey?
I don't. I did not see him on the depth chart today, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's not going to play. And Quan Alexander's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, so injury, correct?
Yeah. So let me see. I'm just looking it up right now. Yeah, I don't have anything new on it. So there may be some things that happen right around game time that aren't happening right now. And there's another guy, Christian Welch, who we practically know nothing about.
Well, Christian Welch, he was like a very 11th hour signee right before the season started. He's played in games. I was surprised, not just special teams. Like I was watching the all 22 tape, the end zone copy, and I'm like, wait, what who's that? I think is he 57?
He is number 57, 6'3", 239 out of Iowa.
Oh, okay.
And one of these bounce around NFL guys is actually in his 5th season. So there are these journeyman type that just, they're there, they're reliable. Usually these guys are pretty, well, they all physically fit the mold. And there's something about them. They're not special, but they're very, very solid. And I'm gonna guess Welch is like that.
Yeah, he's a Josie Jewell replacement, right? He's an Iowa guy. Just like
basically,
run of the mill, solid linebacker, great communicator. We'll see. But, the thing when you look at the linebacker play, I don't think that there's anything with the way that Vance Joseph's built this defense where you're going to probably feel as big of an absence. Like we talked about Josie Jewell a year ago. Have you felt any absence, of Josie Jewell this season?
No, I mean, if anything, Vance Joseph, it's been an interesting dialogue about when's he going to get his next shot to actually be a head coach. I'd be careful of that, but I like VJ. I got nothing against VJ whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm tipping my cap to him big time. I was definitely in the camp. One of my first 9 News Bronco analyst gigs was after the 70-20 debacle in Miami. And I was asked the question. I answered it honestly. Like, I've been a coordinator, and when you have a day like that, you don't know that you're going to have your keys to the office the next day.
Yeah, I from the conversations I had behind the scenes, Coach, yeah, that's a fair conversation. But I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you exactly what happened. Greg Penner happened. And Greg Penner is not quick on that draw. Right. Greg Penner has a methodical way of doing things, and there's something good about somebody from the outside looking at something objectively. And the thought was, well, Sean, you brought him in here for some sort of reason. But I'm not saying the seat wasn't hot. But you have somebody where the buck stops with them that's going to ask those type of questions. One thing I've learned about Greg Penner is this guy does talk to quite a few people because I think to him, he needs to get as much information from different folks as possible. And the most common thing is, well, why did we put this together this way if it's not going to work? Like, why
3 games in? It was 3 games in.
Just, hey, and look what happened the next week. They got, I mean, they gave up the bank to Kansas City the next week. And then 2 weeks after Miami, it clicked.
It did.
And they went on a 5-game win streak. It didn't work out against the Patriots, but, obviously Russ wasn't the right match with Sean Payton. However, in all of that, once you got past the scoregami of 70-20 in the Kansas City game, look at what this defense has done, and maybe you can speak to it. Like, what has been special about the Broncos defense kind of from that point to right now?
Well, even in the kind of the failings of the end of last season, the failings were not on the defensive side of the ball. The defense was playing very well. And it's carried over into this season. I feel like that, the defensive performance, scoring against Seattle, 2 safeties, and setting up 2 more field goal opportunities that were cashed in. So you're looking at 6 + 4. That's 10 points the defense scored in that game. Holding the Justin Fields scorching hot offense to 13 points or 16 points. What was game 2? Is it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, 13 against the Steelers, 13
points.
Yeah.
And then I think the chef's kiss performance was against the red hot Tampa Bay behind Baker Mayfield. And what they proceeded to do
7 points
is unload, I think, one of the deepest and most dangerous pass rush groups in pro football, because you can look at the Raiders and say they got Max Crosby. Well, as a coach, I can send the slide to Max Crosby, right? Where are you sending the slide against this Broncos team? So if you have a 4-man rush, you got 5 offensive linemen, we're going to send the extra hat to. You're going to send it to Allen and Jonathan Cooper. Well, did you watch Nick Benito?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just put on a pass rushing clinic against Tristan Wirfs. And so I think that's what the national narrative. I saw a piece today with Mina Kimes and Benjamin Solak with ESPN that are they're big film watchers. And I think the diehard, film watchers in the media, they're falling in love with this defensive pass rush and defensive front from the Denver Broncos. And I think that Vance Joseph is doing a great job of employing them the correct way, which is not doing too much in forms of like twisting and stunts and games, but just letting them go, sick them. And it's been a lot of fun to watch, man. I think that this defensive front's going to be the key to the game against the New York Jets, because if you can get Aaron Rodgers off the spot over a dozen times in this game, you're going to win.
Well, Aaron Rodgers, after their win against the Patriots, we had Adam Schefter on. He said he thought that was the best overall performance he's seen from the Jets ever. How about that? Which was like, okay. But Adam lives in Long Island, New York area. So, and he's, he's there with Mike Greenberg every day. I mean, listen, man, it's one thing to just sort of be a Jets fan. It's another thing to be a Jets fan and live in that area where they think they're constantly the center. They probably do think we live in Fiji or something in terms of traveling out there, but they're kind of overwhelmed with it. Okay, cool. Fine. Great. But that being said, their enthusiasm is kind of off the charts right now. However, it's not been like murderer's row. I mean, yes, they had a tough game at San Francisco. San Fran's 1-2. They're having their own struggles. Then they beat the Titans and the Patriots. How real is this Jets team?
You know what I feel like with the Jets, a little bit strange comp, but it's almost a little bit like the CU Buffs, where
talk to me.
You do have a lot of unique situations, a unique roster build, unique potential in the building dynamics, but you still got the best quarterback when at his best and given a chance to win a football game. Each one of them is going to beat you. Like if given the chance, he didn't have the chance against the Niners. The Niners were dominant in that game. That was before just a slew of injuries, in addition to CMC, started happening for the Niners. They're a shell of a team right now in terms of health. But he didn't have a chance to win that game. In the other two games he did. And when given just a little bit of time or given a chance to win a game-winning drive, just like Shedeur Sanders, there's an inevitability. And Aaron Rodgers has that type of ability. He's the guy that I have coached more quarterbacks from, I'd say from 12 years ago until just a year or two ago, that they're the guy that they modeled their game after and studied and idolized was none other than Aaron Rodgers because of the unique throwing, angles, the different platforms he throws from, changing his arm slot. He was Patrick Mahomes before Patrick Mahomes in terms of some of that creativity with actually the throwing of the football. The guy he's sensational. He's dynamic. And if he's given time, he's going to exploit some deficiencies in this secondary.
All right. So how do you get him off the spot, Mike? What's the key?
I think you just got to keep rotating in fresh bodies. I'd love to see a little bit more Jonah Ellis. He's playing a little bit, but now with Baron Browning down, Zach Allen's been unblockable. He I don't know if you saw this stat. Zach Allen was the only NFL pass rusher this past weekend that applied a statistical pressure on a quarterback against 4 starting offensive linemen for the Tampa Bay.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
It shows that they can move him around. They can play him over to center. They can play him over. The only guy who didn't do it on was Tristan Wirfs, but Nick Benito did. So I think that the rotation, Jonathan Franklin Myers is going to have a little bit of an extra incentive to go, get after a team that kicked him to the curb. That's his team he played for a year ago. Nick Benito I think his arrow is trending so far up. Jonathan Cooper's he's the longest, strongest, like speed to power type of a pass rusher. But then I think Jonah Ellis is a guy that you need to kind of start working in. I just love this defensive front. I loved him all training camp. I'm glad to see that my eyes really, that was my first training camp covering in the NFL. And that was my storyline that I came out of. I'm like, these guys are good.
What's your take? And the Broncos play plenty of it, but that 2 deep safety, whatever you want to call it, the Tampa 2, whatever football name you want to call it, the Broncos play a lot of it. They do. And it worked out brilliantly when Brandon Jones picked off, Baker and that whole thing. And it's been effective, period. Now, it seems like everybody's playing it, and I get it. I do get it, Coach. It's not new. It's been going on for a million years. But that being said, my take on it is Aaron Rodgers was frustrated. He's not been getting the ball to Garrett Wilson. Why? Yeah. They've been bracketing him and playing deep. Simple as that. So if you're going to beat us, I guess it's going to have to be Lazard or maybe somebody else. That sort of deal. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so when you play too high coverage, to have sound too high coverage, there's obviously various forms of too high coverage. There's cover 2 in a traditional sense. There's 2 Tampa, which is the deep safeties have the halves of the fields. The corners are the flat players. So they typically shove the outside receiver within 5 yards, and then they read the quarterback's eyes for anything underneath. But then the middle linebacker in 2 Tampa, he just sprints and stays above the biggest threat over the middle of the field. So it really does play like an umbrella coverage. If it's run game, then that Mike linebacker just plays the run. That's what Lovie Smith was known for. He made that famous at Chicago in that Super Bowl that they went to. Obviously Tony Dungy. There's cover 4, which Fangio kind of brought about this kind of hybrid cover 4, cover 2. Frankly, it was a college defense, and Fangio brought a lot of it to the NFL. And then there's this kind of new cover 4 that with 5 rushers. They call it vision quarters, where you're voiding out an underneath cover area to get a 5th rusher, and then the underneath 2 players are reading the eyes of the quarterbacks. And so what happens a lot is people do throw some interceptions off of it. I know it's a long diatribe and I've lost you, I'm sure, just in terms of interest level, probably not in terms of intellect. But all this to say is that to cover 2 in all the different variations has been around for years. it is an efficient way to play defense.
Yeah.
If you want to keep a lid on your back end, on your shell, it puts more pressure on a 4-man pass rush. But I would argue that I actually think that's the best bet for Vance Joseph right now, is to just let your 4 pass rushers in a rotational basis just tee it up and go get the quarterback, sick 'em style. And I
one
think
of the most
for him.
Famous defenses of all time is the arrogance of the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Broncos with Tim Tebow in overtime, where they didn't care. They were like, you can't beat us. We're done. They played everybody up. I mean, and not really that harsh of a pass rush, but we're not going to let you do anything.
Yep.
Well, a crossing route to Demaryius Thomas with nobody deep and stiff arm, and the Broncos win. Teams just aren't going to allow that. And the scoring is down in the league for sure. And it's hard to score in the red zone, period. So what it does appear, Mike, to me, is that collectively, unconsciously, the league is saying, here's what's move the ball between the 20s if you can. We don't really care.
Run the ball.
Sure. Go for it.
Defense coordinators are begging people to run the football.
Go for it. 4 yards here, 5 yards here. We'll stop you eventually, and we'll certainly stop you in the red zone. And guess what? Every team, Mike, is going for it for 4th and 2 or less between the 40s. Everybody is now, because everybody sees the same thing. We'll just keep you to a field goal at the worst. We really literally have nothing to lose. So this is where I'm going with this. You're not going to see 70 to 20 games. And if you do, that's really a team on the losing side of things that is terrible.
That's a Panthers type of a situation, or the Panthers doing it to the Raiders type of a situation.
So I think this Broncos-Jets game will be basically a 1-score game.
They all are.
Exactly. Like tonight I'm watching this. Dude, it's 17 to 12.
Yes.
Okay? They're about to go to the 4th quarter. Mike, it's 17 to 12. Dak Prescott makes $60 million a year, and Daniel Jones makes it 40 whatever million a year.
Right.
17 to 12. You like this direction of the NFL?
My dad coached in the NFL a long time ago, 2000. I believe he was there from 99 to 2001 for the San Diego Superchargers. And I was blown away because I was playing college football at the time by the same dynamic of low scoring NFL games. I think that scoring is down a little bit. The first 2 weeks, it was like the numbers were egregious in terms of passing touchdowns were down like almost 50% or 100%. They were down so much. I think week 3, it was a bit of a, like the Jaden Daniels game, the Cincinnati Bank, like there was a return of high powered offenses and high scoring units. I think it's just the game is set because of the salary cap, hell or high water, to give you an entertaining brand of football in the 4th quarter. And what happened with the too high coverage stuff is that there were so many good quarterbacks that, and typically if you were paired up with a really good receiver and a really good quarterback, like you got to keep the dang top off on the coverage, or you're going to get ran out of town. I think it's good. I think that close games are better for the NFL than uneven blowouts. That's what I would say.
All right, Mike. Your pick for Sunday.
God, that's a hard one, man.
No, it's not. It is not a hard one.
I think that this is going to be the very first true Aaron Rodgers like coming out party.
Okay.
So San Francisco, they played at where'd they play that game?
San Fran.
Okay, and then the game 2 was Tennessee.
Tennessee was in Tennessee,
and then the Patriots was in New York.
Was Fireman Ed and the rest of them going nuts. It was like a Billy Joel Bon Jovi twin bill. It was in the Meadowlands.
It was a night game. It was a Thursday game.
Yes.
A lot of people had their blue collar jobs and couldn't.
Let's keep in mind the Jets have had 10 days to get ready for this game too. It's a good point by you right there.
Yeah, I think this is going to be like the prodigal son from last year that we were counting on is here. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to put on a clinic, and I think I think it's going to be close. My final prediction would be like 27-17.
Oh my God, I was going to go 26-19. Because I see a bunch of field goals being made, and I don't know. We'll see something defensively. We've got it about the same. We've got it about the same. Something along those lines.
Bo's going to throw a
touchdown. He's got to throw. Bo Nix has to throw a touchdown at some point. He probably gets a touchdown thrown in this game, right? I mean, it's got to.
Bo's coming out of last week with more confidence, which is a great thing.
Yes. Yeah, but can you seriously start in the NFL for 4 straight weeks and not throw a touchdown pass?
Bo's going to touch the stove a little bit more this week. He's going to throw a touchdown, but he's going to unfortunately throw 2 interceptions out of overconfidence. And that defense is tricky, man. Robert Saleh it's a unique structure. It's very good. It's very
and listen, man,
it's not an ideal rookie on the road type of a defense.
Yeah, it's a weird environment. Have you ever coached or been at that new stadium there?
When I was coaching at Notre Dame, I beat the brakes off the Orangemen there at the new whatever the hell it's called. What's the stadium called? It's not the Meadowlands.
MetLife Stadium.
MetLife. Yeah, we hung like a 55 spot on your
Wow. You were coaching on that game, huh?
Yeah, it was fun. It was good day at the office. And
I actually don't remember it.
Yeah, well, you probably drank yourself to sleep that night, but and then last year I went to the Tommy Cutlets, the freaking Tommy DeVito.
Oh.
I was at the Monday Night Football.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Tommy Cutlets over Jordan Love. That was a tough one for my fandom.
I think it's one of the bigger non-personality stadiums.
I agree so much, man.
Right?
It's weird. It's almost like a massive longest yard set. It feels almost prison-like. I don't get it. It's like hues of gray and black, like all over the seating.
Right?
It's a weird ass stadium, man.
It's a weird stadium.
Were you listening like the prime game tonight? I asked my wife, I'm like, does that sound weird? Is anybody there? All I hear is Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. Like, just a weird environment. I can't.
The whole thing is odd. The Meadowland. Listen, man, it's just not a great vibe, and I'm not going to freak out if they lose. Okay, I'm not. Listen, I'll take the win. I think the league with 17 games, Mike, is just different than it's ever been. I think anything that used to be the way it is isn't the way it is anymore, which is good. And keep in mind, the Broncos have 3 of their next 4 at home. All right, let me ask you this real quick. Sean Payton said we're going to not look at the season in quarters anymore. We used to do that. We're not. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it makes a lot of sense because he's a big time mathematician. Is that quarters used to add up when it was 4 times 4 equals 16. 17.
Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, slow down. I'm sorry. What? 4 times what?
4
is what?
16.
All right, keep going. Please. Nobody said there would be math here on this podcast. Continue, please.
Like, does that make sense though? 16 divided by 4.
I'll take your word for it.
So now you have an extra game. It doesn't make sense. I've never heard of breaking up a season in quarters personally.
My God. These coaches have said that. Are you being serious on that one? Are you being serious?
I've heard everything broken down in like, okay, a 1-game season. That's what everything is. It's like PJ Fleck, when I was working for him, he used to say, we just got to be 1-0 in the Rutgers season. And I'm like, oh, okay. We're in the Rutgers season.
Can I tell you one of my favorite stories of all time about this?
Please.
My guy, Alfred Williams, was playing for Cincinnati. My guy, Alfred Williams, was the Butkus Award winner when they won a national championship at CU. And they drafted Mike Kroll, something like that, out of Nebraska. The Broncos did instead of Alfred.
Yeah, Lucas's dad.
So Lucas's dad. I'm getting it wrong. Mike, what the hell is his name? Anyways, they drafted the guy out of Nebraska. I'm forgetting his name. He went on to win Rookie of the Year and then flamed out. Alfred got drafted 18th and was so upset about not getting drafted by the Broncos and going to the Bengals, he cried on draft night. True story. Gets to Cincinnati, and he's in a team meeting, and they started terribly. They started 0-4. And the coach gets up and said, I told you, the goal was to win 2 out of our first 4 games. And Alfred stood up in the meeting and said, you didn't tell us which fucking games, coach. True story. Swear to God.
Great point, Alfred. It's a great point.
The
How
point
do you know?
you don't know. But to break things up in quarters, John Fox has said it, Gary Kubiak has said it, a lot of coaches have said it, including Sean Payton. I always thought that was kind of weird. Like, what happens at the quarter pole or the halfway pole that's so special? Well,
Nothing.
Mike, nothing. You just got a game the next week.
But you could see almost where the kind of the methodology of like the one game season, it makes a little bit more sense because from a game plan standpoint, from a health standpoint, you do play 17 in the NFL unique seasons because like Alex Singleton wasn't a part, his injury wasn't a part of the season in the last game. Now it is. And so you have to just adjust and adapt to that one game in front of you and having a plan that gives you a chance to win that one game.
And really this season is about, we want to win. We want to win, but it is about the development of Bo Nix. So what do you want to see if Bo Nix, and I'm going to lump games 1 and 2, I'm going to put that in the same pile because it was,
not great.
Not great.
Yeah.
However,
it wasn't like horrible. It just wasn't great.
But look at week 3. So if you lump weeks 1 and 2 sort of together, you definitely see improvement to week 3, right?
I do. There was major improvement in week 3. I think that Sean Payton does have Todd Bowles' number. And I've had as a coordinator, there's certain guys that I've coached against at the college ranks that I knew I kind of had their number. And you just feel good, man. You're zipping around. Your Jordans are a little extra shiny on the sideline. And then you take the coin toss, like, we're going to shove it right up Todd Bowles' ass. And that's exactly what happened. Now, I don't know that Robert Saleh and Sean, the history there is probably not necessarily as positive. So I think that this is going to be a measured game from a game planning standpoint. And to be honest, I think it's fair that Sean Payton should have this be a bit of a measured game because Saleh does mix up the looks a lot and in a coverage. So Bowles mixes up the pressures and who's coming and that, but coverage wise, Saleh creates major problems for a young quarterback in terms of their progressions.
So we're both picking the Broncos to lose, but not in a terrible way, kind of a relatively close sort of NFL-y sort of way. And then listen, you got the Raiders after that and other home games, and the season is not going down the crapper. We'll be fine. We're both a little unsure about this Greenbrier experience. Okay, I'm kind of rolling my eyes at the whole thing. Bo Nix, let me just play a little bit of Bo Nix here. Well, I did. Bo Nix talked about, the fact that I played it earlier, that we're trying to stay in the same routine. You don't have to try to stay in the same routine if you're just Mike in the same routine.
Right. Right.
It's like, hey, we're trying our best to keep this normal.
Yep. Yep. It sounded like Will Lutz got some golf in though.
Quinn Miners brought his bowling shoes.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
I want to point out a couple of things. Will Lutz. There's a 9-hole executive course at Family Sports that's less than a mile from the field. If you need to go hit some balls. Okay. Listen, go see Bo Nix at Castle Pines. There's like 3 golf courses out there that are good enough for a PGA tournament. If Will Lutz, has an itch to scratch. Celebrity Lanes is located at Arapahoe and Parker.
For the belly.
For the belly. Just because maybe he hasn't looked at a map to what's less than 2 miles from the facility. Now, I'll give you this. I do not know where the local falconry range is.
We live in a birds of prey area here. So
we do.
There are birds of prey everywhere. There's a falconry range somewhere in Weld County.
You would think so, but
no question.
But again, only you and people like on a wagon train on the Oregon Trail live that far away in Weld County and from the facility.
Apparently you're coming up this way this weekend.
I am. I'm going to Anderson Farms.
You're coming to my neighborhood, man. That's my neighborhood.
Yeah. I'm packing my lunch and my pickaxe. So I'll be up there on Saturday. Thank you. You come by it. It's for kids.
Yeah, we have Saturdays, man. I got softball tournament. Can I brag for? I know nobody likes hearing about my daughter, a freshman, just started pitching in high school. Like, has not been a pitcher.
Varsity?
Well, they have she hasn't pitched. She's never been a pitcher.
Okay.
Like, learning it in the last month and a half.
Uh-huh.
They have a C team with like 15 girls.
Yeah.
So she started there, did pretty well. She just started her first JV team, and all these girls are travel and comp.
Yeah.
And she went complete game today. Got the W.
That's awesome.
hour and a half, game, and she went the whole distance, man. I was super. I didn't have a chance to see it. I was filming the CBS show, which if you don't, it's a great show. If you're listening, 10:30 on CBS Colorado. It's called the Football Blitz with me, Romy Bean, who's the real star we know, and Nate Jackson.
Well, listen, the most important thing is when you watch that show, you can realize Mike Sanford is a shit dad.
My wife was there and giving me the play-by-play. But I have tournament the entire weekend. I got tournaments tomorrow, tournaments on Saturday. We have 7 games, 7 between our 3 kids on Sunday. 7.
Well, you guys decided to have kids. Actually, in all honesty, this is the first fall. Check this out. This is going to blow you away. This is the first fall in, I got to do the math here, 22. First fall in 18 years that I don't have a kid playing something in the fall. First time in 18 years that I'm not going to kid sports.
You know what that's called?
What?
You're old, bud.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, you're old.
Kind of sucks. I miss it a little bit.
It's awesome, man. It's great. I love watching my kids play, and I know you did too.
It's funny watching the Broncos, the Avs, the Nuggets, the Rockies. Nothing has put me on the edge of the seat with sports more than watching my kids play.
No,
nothing
about it. You feel so out of control, don't you? You're just like you're like I want.
Well, I'll just tell you. I felt so yes. And when it came to baseball, which is really my big sport, I just said I can't do this. I got to coach. I literally had to coach. Yeah. I cannot stand this anymore. I couldn't sit back. The rest of the sports, wrestling, hockey, lacrosse, whatever, go for it. It didn't matter. Hockey was great too, because I just go with the other dads, and half the hockey rinks for youth hockey, you could drink. There's beers. There's like a bar.
One right there in like Westminster, Broomfield.
I've been there. Westminster's fantastic.
Dave Platty owns the bar, man. Our guy, Dave Platty.
Yeah, what is that? Jay Platty owns that one in Westminster?
Yeah, he's at least a part owner. That's my guy.
Yeah, because my guy Jim Armstrong used to be maybe they own it together. That would make sense because Jim's a longtime sports writer. It's called Shooters or something or whatever.
That's it right there. I think it is Shooters.
It's something like that, right? Nah, many times. See, I'm telling you. It's great. It's like you drop the kid off. I don't even have to tie his skates anymore. I'm just like,
no, I think Shooters might have been Lauren Bobert's old bar out there in Rifle, Colorado. I don't think you or me have been to that place.
Oh, I would love that place. Are you kidding? Listen, a perfect day is just to, go see Beetlejuice, maybe take a nap, and then just go right off to Shooters. It's just absolutely
just a quick movie theater pre-nap. Nothing
very quick.
Nothing better.
CU UCF. What don't we understand about UCF? Because I myself included, and my degree is scouting college teams, Mike. I'm going to tell you, it's limited at this point of the year. But how is a program that I really know nothing about a 14-point favorite over CU?
Line play, running game, quarterback run game.
All high level.
Yeah, they're the number one rushing offense in college football. But big caveat on it, they've played Sam Houston State
and New Hampshire.
University of New Hampshire, and then they haven't played anybody.
Okay,
they beat TCU, who is absolute cheeks this year. They're terrible. TCU is not a good football team.
By 1 point, 35-34.
Yeah, so they have a quarterback that's 6'3", 255, 250. KJ Jefferson. He is a absolute load. And if he's hot throwing the football, then CU will get boat raced because he's going to run the football. And if he can get going with the pass game and hits a couple down the field, it's going to be a long day for CU because I don't know, but I think UCF's got big defensive issues too. It's going to be an interesting game. All of them are.
Would you pick UCF? I won't make you pick a score, but would you pick UCF to win?
I would say that that's probably what should happen. But once again, and I'll say it every week, I said it before last week, DMac, right here, is if UCF allows CU to hang within 7 points within 3-4 minutes remaining, they're going to lose. And CU will win because they got Shedeur Sanders.
Travis Hunter, your favorite to win the Heisman right now?
Yes.
Me too. It's funny to me that's not more of a slam dunk with more people, but
Cam Ward's the odds-on favorite right now, right?
Who's that? Oh, Cam Ward? That would make sense.
Yeah.
That would make sense. So
he's the odds-on, and I'm trying to think who else might be in that conversation. But yeah, it's Cam Ward is number one right now.
Well, I think unless Cam Ward does something, I think it would take Miami going undefeated, being a top, I don't know, man. Where would they be in the AC? Top 3 team once the Heisman votes are in. It would have to be something that spectacular.
Yeah.
Because what Travis Hunter is and will continue to do, knock on wood that he stays healthy, will be so flabbergasting that it'll be so extraordinary, which it already has been, but it will continue to be like that. It'll be unavoidable. And when you compare Cam Ward theoretically to all other quarterbacks that have won this award year after year after year after year after year, I just think the voters will want something different. Unless Miami just is, it's ridiculous. Like it's a Joe Burrow type of season.
Yeah. Yeah. Cam Ward, have you watched him much?
No, not really.
He's a bit of a magician
in
terms of his athleticism. He makes the highlight wild play, which is the only thing that gives me any pause to saying that Travis Hunter should by far be the Heisman. Because if he's winning all the games and making all the big plays and right now is the number 1 graded player in college football on PFF, the number 1 player, then there's a conversation. But I just think that what Travis Hunter's doing and at the level at which he's doing it has never been done, at least in the modern game of college football. Never.
Why do we have the greatest audience watching this podcast? Because Bender's sport. It's Benders, not shooters.
Yeah. Shooters.
Mike
Bobert. She's a Beetlejuicer.
Okay. We'll leave that one alone. All right, Mike. Anything else on the way out the door? We got we got a close game. It's not the greatest game in the world, but we got a close game. I think they're showing a replay of something. I believe it's still 17-12 Cowboys. It's a pretty desperate game for both teams. Hold on one second. Let me just see here real quick. I want to play, y'all. 17-15. 17-15. Cowboys with the ball. They're driving. And there's 11 minutes to go, so we can say adios and watch this one. Who wins this game? Last thought. Who wins? Who figures this one out?
I'm going with Danny Dimes, man.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
And then he can text the love of his life, Kay Adams, after and hope for the best. Because apparently that's a thing. It's a bit at least.
Really?
Well, I think it's kind of a joke, but hey, Danny, you win this one against the boys in New York. I would definitely shoot your shot, big.
I'm going to say Danny Dimes gets sacked, knocked out of the game with something, hopefully not too bad, and Drew Lock comes in to throw an interception. But
hey, one last thing. You've been pretty hard on Sunshine Sean with his Greenbrier trip, his all-inclusive vacation for the Broncos franchise.
Yeah.
If this works and you go 2-0 in this road trip, Sunday night in Altitude After Dark, I'm going to need you to do that entire show with your shirt off.
Okay. All right, Mike. Great to talk with you, as always.
Your bod, man. You know,
I'm sorry, I can't. You're not. I can't. It's something's happening. Maybe we're having technical. The internet. I can't account for it. We'll see you later.